think my love of hymns for me started I was in Girls Brigade and Brownies. And
Oh
bands
yeah, so you had to
in
go.
the days.
So you used to have to go to church
in the days when
on
you
Sundays.
went.
Yeah.
It was a big part, Girls Brigade especially, but all of them. And it was a big part
So
of
I
it
was
was
in Cubs
worship.
as well.
Yeah, a big part of it was worship, and you'd go and the whole uniform
Mm,
thing.
mm,
I think I love uniforms to this day, but you went and you learnt loads of hymns, and I already knew them. Then in school, I played loads of instruments and we just played hymns, and it was just just sat there, so it's never left.
Well, I used to, when I was a youth, like when I really got interested in songwriting, I used to go to St Paul's Cathedral. Like I used to go at lunchtime when they used to have the open services.
Yeah.
And the organ players used to just kill me every time.
Yeah.
Because it was like, it sounds simple, but it's
not as simple as you
incredible.
think.
And then also the voicings. So they don't use, like, unlike jazz musicians who kind of like play really wide voicings. They're very small, but they're really, really complicated.
Yeah.
And against the melodies, unless you have a real understanding of, harmonic structure, you would never guess.
Put them, you would never put them together. Yeah.
And that's been a really cool thing when you work with hymns and you hear them that way. Hymns are significant, I think, for a number of reasons, because they have a historical value. They seem to kind of bring each generation into an age.
Yeah.
And certain hymns are popular in certain ages.
Yeah.
Even with the funeral the other day, for Prince Philip, when they done the Mariners.
I'm going to take your word for it because I didn't.
Right. So there's a hymn that all of the Navy guys sing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was just phenomenal. You listen to melody, listen to the words, the story, everything. You just think, wow, where would we be without hymns? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, one thing when I did the first thing I ever done for myself recording was Simply Him, and that was 2013, and it was hymns, just piano. And one of the great things that came from me doing that was I went and researched all the hymns that I loved, and I went and looked at their history and how did they come about and what's the story behind this and all the rest of it. And it made me love them even more. I love them for my own reasons, the words and everything, and knowing that, and some of them not so great, regardless of, there's history there, and some of the history's not so great, and I take all of that into account,
But for us as black folks, I think significantly from a musicology point of view, hymns are really important because
they are.
What our forefathers were able to do was listen to these Western or English ideals musically, and then bust them open.
Yeah.
We busted them open.
Yeah.
So somebody singing "Great Is Thy Faithfulness" in a Baptist church
is a whole different thing.
In the middle of England, it's a completely different thing from somebody singing it in Louisiana.
Yeah, completely.
Right? And so, and then that kind of got transported around the diaspora, and where it ends up is literally like blues and jazz and popular music.
Yeah.
Without the hymns and without us being able to manipulate that, there almost wouldn't be like some of the modern music forms that you have right now.
Yeah, but I guess like with that, likewise, I think that the forms that we say ancestry had, those forms travelled before that. They travelled and joined.
Yeah, definitely.
They travelled and
I
joined
agree with that.
They
Totally.
didn't make it.
No, But what you do have is that you have, from us who are kind of quite diatonic people, rhythmic people, and then you get this classical form, and then you get some cats who kind of got some beat.
Merge.
And then they merge it, and then they take it, and then they start pulling it and stretching it, and adding and subtracting, and then all of a sudden, that's choir music, right? That's gospel choir music comes so much from that kind of tradition. But then it's like stretched and washed and primped and recolored and
Yeah.
cut, and you know what I'm saying? It's amazing. So I think the idea of the hymn's done a lot for us.
Yeah, and I think with that, the hymns were done, I think, the same tradition of building the story of faith, because at that time, not everyone could read. And so you build the story of faith, you know the story of faith and the liturgies and stuff through the hymns. And it's, again, we can marry it with the same tradition of the old age tradition of passing down stories by voice.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, and that's that same thing. You're speaking, you're singing the history, you're singing the narrative, you're singing the doctrine, or, you know, that kind of thing. And it's really powerful. And that is one of my things about the power of words.
Yeah,
you know, there's all different kind of words. You know, some things are just fun, some things, and that's all good. I think there's place for everything. But there's also the place of the fact that that song, that refrain, that line, the potential to stay in someone and to speak to them that whole time, to remind them, and that is so powerful. And I love that.
That's first mention in the Bible.
First mention.
Where God says to Moses, teach them this, and they'll remember it.
Teach them and pass it down, and that is an ancient practice.
It's an ancient practice. There you go. So I think sometimes that's when we're singing the hymns, we probably forget that we actually join. We join
the voices of the ages, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's
if some people might say the great cloud of witness.
Yeah, I say that too. But like, you know, like talking about liturgy and all of that stuff. I mean, when you think about what like the Fisk University singers done, by you know, them being, you know, great intellectuals,
absolutely,
taking hymns and then
tearing
and then coming to England, they were like superstars when they came here, because it's like nobody had heard anything like that. I mean, even Charles Spurgeon writes about it.
Because they went and go around and draw.
But they brought the pain of the African experience to what was being written, and it just put it in another room, you know.
The another level of lament.
And joy.
And joy.
And expression.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like most of... and then some go, you know, they just start to pull it and they add some rhythm to it. And then all of a sudden you're like...
This is another thing.
Yeah.
And that is, again, you mentioned it there and we talk about it. Another thing why I like hymns, and we forget, there is room for every emotion. That, you know,
and everybody.
And everybody. Lament and joy and grief and doubt and the whole lot is in there, and all of them are valid. And you can find a hymn or when I say, I'm talking about old hymns, but even new songs, when you can find the words from a writer to express something you're feeling, but you find the words to express it. Sometimes your own words are not found, and you can find it there. And hymns, for me, that's another thing. It can express something in some words. You just think, yeah, man, like that. Even if it's the old English. I know people sometimes don't like old English, but again.
No, I'm down.
I do.
I'm down. And maybe that's why hymns also have such a national significance. You know, like whole countries kind of will have a hymn. You know, or a national anthem, which is kind of like a hymn. Yeah, the Jamaican anthems,
it's very much like a kind of hymn, triumphal kind of, you know.
And every coronation or every christening or
you got some kind of
like it seems to cement each kind of like
the cultural expression.
Cultural expression.
Yeah.
So what would
the cultural expression
be?
What would the cultural expression be now?
What's Jamaica's favourite hymn, do you think? Or Trinidad or
I don't know. They kind of like Great Is Thy Faithfulness. And you know what the one? What's the one about the world? The other one I love as well. My grandma used to sing it all the time. Come on, Trace.
What?
Oh Lord, then sings my soul.
That's big time. That's proper.
Listen.
You don't rap with them too much.
Listen, When I in awesome wonder consider all. For me, that's like you said, the first
but
line.
that's so black in it because it's just extra. You know
What, the way I said it?
No, just awesome wonder.
But again, that's the thing. I think, you know, again, what my friends will know, I have great lament about the overuse of the word awesome. It's overused. So when we use awesome for God and we use awesome for pizza, it's like, no, both of those things cannot be awesome.
I've got some friends who are twins and they say the same thing. Every time I say awesome, they're like, no, God is awesome.
Yeah, not even
and
trying to be deep.
They say it in like chorus.
Yeah. When I in awesome wonder, because you're in awe of the
I'll tell you what, right?
Things.
You know, there was this hymn we used to sing in school, right? All around the world, the children sing their song from east and west. Their voices sweetly blend, praising the Lord, whose hand alone can save. Jesus, our health and strength, Saviour, and our friend.
Schools one stick with you, innit?
And they stick with you. And it's like,
you don't lose them. You know the words even when you don't want to.
Exactly. And it's like that, you know, like the cultural expression or the expression of a group or the expression of everyone.
Yeah.
I think it's really
It's very powerful.
It's very powerful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Peace.
Yeah, we're done with that.
Great is thy faithfulness.